welcome back to the sideboard here at GP Richmond. I'm Nick Miller alongside Reid Duke. How are you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good. Now, of course, Reid Duke played Green-Black Obliterator, as you called it, and a lot of your friends and teammates had picked up the deck. But today at GP Richmond, you decided not to play that. What did you play today?
Today I played Blue-White Tron.
And what prompted such a stark contrast in decks?
Well, the short answer to that question is that this is just a really, really fun deck to play. So, 15 rounds, 4,300 people. I just wanted something that I actually genuinely enjoyed playing. But there are also a lot of strategic advantages to this deck. For one thing, I think that Gifts Ungiven for Unburial Rights is especially powerful right now, given especially that Deathrite Shaman has been banned. And this deck generally just has a good matchup against Birthing Pod and Blue-White control decks, which I expected to be pretty popular here.
Right. That's an important thing to note when playing such a long, huge tournament, as you want to, enjoy yourself as well.
Yeah.
I've talked to some people, they don't even know what they think like top 8 record even has to be, so it's just like astronomical. So
yeah,
just like, I'm just playing what I want to play. Now, you have the gifts package with just a numerous assortment of cards. You have the Triple Wrath suite.
Lots of one-ofs in this deck.
Of course, interacting with GPRICH package and all that. Explain some of the one-ofs and what the implications are.
Well, in addition to having Gifts Ungiven, this is just generally a late game control deck. The games go long, you draw a lot of the cards out of your deck, so having a variety of pretty powerful one-ofs is really helpful. Also makes the deck harder to play against.
Right.
But I have one of each copy of the 4-mana Wrath of Gods, which means if you Gifts Ungiven searching for all 3, they are forced to put 1 into your hand. I have a Timely Reinforcements and a Batter Skull as nice life gain options to not just get burned out against a Tribal Flames deck or something like that. Actually 4 copies of Path to Exile just as your bread and butter anti-creature card. I'm going to get Splinter Twin. And then some versatile answers and some versatile threats.
Detention Sphere, Oblivion Ring, just to grab whatever.
Yep, Planeswalkers, Blood Moons, anything like that.
And your finishers, so to speak, Emrakul, Elesh Norn, Iona.
Right, Iona and Elesh Norn combo extremely well with Unburial Rights. Turn 3 or 4, you Gifts Ungiven for only 2 cards. They go directly to your graveyard, and against virtually every deck in the field, one of these 2 cards is going to be a game winner. Against Birthing Pod or Affinity, you just wipe their board and they can never play anything for the rest of the game with Elesh Norn. Against Storm or Splinter Twin, you play Iona naming Blue, their whole deck's shut down. But also, this is a big mana deck. You frequently get to 7, 9, 12 mana. You could just cast these cards later in the game.
Yeah, just hard casting giant creatures that are normally reanimated seems pretty good.
Yep. Talk
about the one of Condescend and Remand. Remand is a card I see played a lot of multiples. Is the value still there in just a one of, or?
Well, I actually have 2 Remands in the main deck and 2 in the sideboard. It's just a card that's like pretty good and pretty all-purpose, but I didn't want to lean too heavily on it. Remand is a card that is dramatically better if you're on the play. So if you lose the die roll, they have a fast start. Like it's almost impossible to just sit back on your Remands at that point. So I didn't want to play so many that it was all I had to work with. But they're really powerful cards, and Condescend, like I said in the late game with so much mana, can virtually be a hard counter, in addition to just being a really good turn 2 play to counter their spell and set up your next 2 draw steps.
Explain why you chose the Blue-White Tron over the other Trons. Green-Red is kind of faded out, Mono-Blue, all the other variants. What's so much better about this?
Well, the Tron decks that we're used to in Modern are really like glass cannons. Their plan is just to put something in play on turn 3 or 4 and hope it's good enough. And a lot of times it is. Those are great decks too, but this is more of a well-balanced, all-purpose deck. And what it really is just a control deck that happens to have the Tron engine for the late game. But you're very much able to win games without assembling Tron. You're not quite as vulnerable to hate cards, and you have powerful Plan A in addition to Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. It's tough to shut this deck down completely.
And of course, your sideboard. You pointed out you had 3 copies of Ghostly Prison.
Yeah, Ghostly Prison is just a really, really powerful modern card. It's disguised as something that you would want against a fast aggro deck, but it also happens to be one of the best hate cards against Splinter Twin.
Right.
You have that in play, and suddenly 10 million copies of Deceiver Exarchs turns into like 3 copies of Deceiver Exarch, which is much more manageable. It also is really, really good against Affinity, decks with man lands, sometimes like a fast 1-drop zoo can buy you enough time to stabilize. So Ghostly Prison I found to be a big appeal of this deck.
Talk about a off-camera match you had earlier where I heard story of you having to wrath away your own Emrakul.
That was a funny
match.
match. I played against a Splinter Twin player, and he wasn't able to kill me quickly, which is what I want with this deck. And I got Tron, I got 15 mana, cast Emrakul. Against most decks, that's good enough.
Yes.
But against Splinter Twin, he just kept going, play a Deceiver Exarch, tap your Emrakul, play a Deceiver Exarch, tap your Emrakul. And each time I, preemptively path to exiled his creature so that he wouldn't be able to set up a big turn with like a Dispel or Mizium Skin, something to kill me on the spot. But finally, I ran out of path to exile as he played another guy. I'm like, all right, I don't want to just die to the Splinter Twin in your hand. So I Day of Judgment, had to shuffle my Emrakul back in, and then the game went another 10 turns or something before I eventually won.
Pretty absurd match. I did get to catch the part where he scooped after you just finally wore him down long enough.
Yep.
Having to wrath your own Emrakul seems...
You can actually beat the Infinite Life combo out of Melirapod just by, you say, okay, you're at 10 million, and you attack with Emrakul and annihilate all their permanents, and then eventually just wrath it and shuffle up your whole deck, and they lose to rogue cards.
Oh, that's an interesting way to win.
Yep.
All right, well, Reid, this deck looks awesome. It looks fun, and I hope you have a good time playing it this weekend. So.
Yeah, thanks, I know I will.
Yep. For Reid Duke, I'm Nick Miller in the sideboard. Stay tuned for more action here at GP Richmond.